Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. And like every Friday afternoon, I'm joined by Mr. Sean Higgs of picksandparleys.net to discuss some college basketball for the Saturday card. And this Saturday's card, no different, Sean. It's a huge one, like we're used to in college basketball at this time of year. How's it going, my friend?
Yeah, I got like the old printouts rolling already for tomorrow. It's a lot of games. And I don't know about you, Ross. For me, people ask like, oh, how do you go through so many games? And you can still have, for me, I'm going to have probably like between 10 and 20 games, right? Usually about 13, 14 games. And it's a lot, right? It's people like, oh my God, it's a lot of games. There's 140 games.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm a guy who I'll look at some, I don't even look at double-digit fades, right? I see a big school. I'm like, let me move on. I don't want to lay 20 here or 15 on the road. Those are the last ones I look at. I don't know. Do you like find a way to narrow down?
Yeah, I pretty much could eliminate the board, whether it be a college football Saturday or a college basketball Saturday. They're both large in comparison to what we see, enormous actually in comparison to what we see during the weekdays or even on a Sunday in college basketball. So I really scan through and just eliminate a lot of games. Like you said, these 20 plus favorites, I eliminate those games because my theory on taking underdogs, and I've stuck to it for over 20 years now, and it's worked for me, is I don't take an underdog unless I think they have at least a realistic opportunity of pulling off an upset. Now, I'm not saying it's a 50-50 proposition, but you want to know going in that an underdog, on their best day, if they bring their A game and the other team is a little bit flat, because that's what we look for, flat spots and favorites, right? That's what I like to use in terms of underdogs. But these huge, I think I'll go as high as 15 maybe on a favorite if I really like it. But even then, Sean, it's very rare, so.
I'm with you on the dogs. Like football, anytime I take a dog of like 10 or less, I think that's an outright winner. That's a 50-50 outright winner. And I've said, people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, that's a back, you're automatically within the back door, and you're really a turnover away from flipping that to you winning by 3 or 4, as opposed to losing by 10. That's the way I look at it. I'm like I'm taking a big dog like that, a 10 plus doggy. I'm like, okay, back door's there, right? Most people think, oh, back door's open. So if you're thinking that aspect of it, so you're within a touchdown.
Yeah.
Why can't you get a turnover or a big play or something happens, and that turns into a 3, 4, 5 point win for you instead of a 3, 4 point loss?
Yeah, the backdoor covers are nice, and we've all been burned by them, and we've all experienced our fair share of wins in terms of getting a backdoor cover. But again, it goes back to if you go into it saying, I like this underdog and I think they'll have a good chance of a backdoor cover, I think you need to move on to the next game.
You think they're going to be within the number, and then worst case, you're getting that. Like you think they're going to hang in there, and then all right, worst case scenario, we score a garbage touchdown late. That's my thinking on that. Like I think I'm going to be there, but if you're thinking you're getting that back, good luck with that. No, when that happens, when you have the favorite, and here comes the prevent defense for you.
Yeah, exactly. But to anybody's defense who uses that analogy, it does happen, but you'd be surprised, folks, how low a percentage that occurs in terms of the ATS results. We just always remember the ones we win like that, and always remember the ones we lose that. So in our simple mind, without looking any broader, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody.
No,
I'm just saying, you have to broaden the window and say, okay, but how many times has this happened over the last month to me?
Exactly.
Good or bad.
And the thing is, Russ, you don't remember the winner. The losers, because every bet you make is supposed to win, right? It's like, why would I put it out there and bet it if I didn't think it was going to win? The losses are people like, yesterday I had a crazy loss on a Wright State under. It was like 158, went to triple overtime.
They were 122 at the end of regulation, weren't they?
I mean, it was, and the guy hit a shot at like the buzzer shot. So that's a tough one to swallow.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, I end up catching, I think Townsend at plus 4.5 as opposed to, or it was a 3 or something. So those games I don't remember because it's just a win. I move on. But like everybody, you mentioned simple. People think simple, right? It's like I just think of it's a favorite, they should win. It's a ranked team, it should win. And real fast, then we'll get to the picks here.
Sure.
And I always say this. We've talked about it in the morning shows we do basketball. I do it on the midday money. Basketball or football, we're talking basketball now. The unranked versus ranked angle, right? The whole team's unranked. Florida won the other day. Maryland trounced over Indiana. 21-10. Nice tidy 68% this year if you're just doing that. And I tell people, you probably say the same
28-10 against the spread.
21-10 against the spread. 21-10. Unranked over
68%. Yeah. I mean,
like
I'd say that has some validity to it, right?
And it's and it could win. Tomorrow could go 1-3. You're like, oh, it's 0-3. Well, it's 21-4, and if you've done this since November, you're up money because it's not a one day. It's not Saturday college basketball. It's not Tuesday college basketball. It's not Tuesday NBA. It's the season starts this day. It ends this day.
Yeah,
you got to look at the big picture here, folks. Not just the one game. I think.
Yeah,
that's back to the simple thinking of people. Like it's just, I need it today. Well, you got to win today because you can't bet tomorrow if you don't have the money. Well, I don't know. Don't bet. Turn off the OSGA podcast here, folks. Don't do that. All right. I mean,
I actually, that's a specific example. I'm glad you brought it up. The Maryland game, I get 2 10-star plays at 10 unit plays, I should say, at Sports Memo a month to use. I used one on Maryland in that game. Nice. And it's a perfect example. I mean, here's a Maryland team, not ranked, and they're a small favorite against a ranked team. And pretty much they were in control for most of that game. And they end up winning by 11 against Indiana, a team that had been playing very good. So, folks, sometimes you got to look for something that jumps out at you that doesn't seem that it seems way too obvious one way. That's usually when you got to start thinking the other way. And I'll say this time and time and time again. If you want to start to become successful as a sports bettor, start thinking like an odds maker does, not like because if you're Sean, you could say what I'm sure you'll confirm this. That's how confident I am when I say this is whenever you start thinking that the odds makers are going to make a mistake or you think you got an edge because the odds makers off on their line, that's when you're going to start losing at a high rate. I don't know.
I say, we talk about the lines. I told people, I said, I'm not some smart mathematician. We talk about like Kempom's line or Partovic or Haslam metric. A lot of guys, I said, I don't have some supercomputer. I'm not a mathematician running all types of things. I said, if you're not looking to something else to help you along the way, like I think a game should go one way. That's fine. I have my little set I think it's going to be. But if you're not double checking or just even comparing to see if you're totally in outer space, or are you at least along the lines of someone else is thinking who's in the same kind of business, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they're doing the same kind of thing you're doing. They're coming up with a number against the odds makers. Like if my number is really off than the odds makers, I'm like, oh boy, I think I'm running wrong. I don't ever think everything's like a nice, easy 10-point win. Come on. The lines are what they are. And you try to think, okay, I think I have the edge here.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. Yeah. You start thinking you're better than those guys. I don't know. Maybe you are. Maybe you're some supercomputer NASA guy. Maybe your mind is a different kind of level. I don't know. I'm pretty sure most people are.
It does help when you're trying to beat a number to be good at numbers too.
Yes.
Yeah. That was always my strongest suit in school was mathematics and algebra and all that stuff after that. Okay. And it's really benefited me in this business, but there's other aspects you have to look at too. Now, I mentioned the Maryland play, how brilliant that looked. Yesterday, I go with Ohio State on our video yesterday, me, you, and Jesse, and it was for the same reason. I mean, another reason why I wanted to use a favorite. We had Ohio State as a 7.5-point favorite after going 1-7 straight up in ATS in their last 8 against a brand name like Wisconsin. Then you start looking inside the numbers and you make a good case for it. Now, it didn't pan out because Ohio State, frankly, didn't even show up for that game. Really disappointing performance. They came back late in the game to make it interesting, but for most part, Wisconsin was in control from start to finish in that game. When it comes to not only the straight up result, but the ATS result. So you're going to be wrong sometime. The thing where you want to evaluate, and Sean, I'd like you could elaborate on this a little more. The thing that you want to do is just because you lose one game by logical thinking like an odds maker, don't veer off of that, because what you want to win more than you lose. Yes. And I can guarantee you that over the course of time, if you find those spots where a line doesn't make sense and they're begging you to take the other way, more times than not, you're going to win than lose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll go kind of like a step further. So I bet more games than you. I'm more volume. I come in, I fire away. And you talked about the Indiana game, and then they got Purdue tomorrow. They're a little bit of a home dog here, and Purdue in a spot. I think Purdue ended up covering. I said, this is a spot where you either fade both teams. You go against Purdue, go against Indiana, because you think they're going to be something, this is the back of their mind. I know they're never going to say like, well, we got a bigger game on deck, but it's out there. They know the schedule. A rivalry game
between Indiana and Purdue happens every year. But it doesn't always happen with Purdue being the number one team in the country.
Exactly.
So I think you're going with the look ahead spot.
Yeah. So it's a spot where, you know what? And I tell people, if I'm going to lose, I don't mind taking a loss sometimes. You have to. I'll lose because I'm going to stick to something that I've used for years and years. I'm going to go against the ranked and unranked. I'm going to go where I got a team in a kind of a flat spot, or look at however you want to word it. It's just a spot where I'm going to go against them, and somewhere else. You got to go both sides of it, like in a basketball sense of the word, or in a baseball spot where you have like the Yankees or Dodgers or Astros or some big name team that's laying a 105, 110. You're like, oh boy, wait, looks way too easy. Well, you go opposite on all three of those, you might go 2-1. Yeah. You go here, you split out 1-1. So again, I there's spots where I don't mind. We take losses. If I get a loss there, fine. I know in the long run, and that's what it's about. It's long-term game here. It's that bounces out and you're in the positive. And we don't have to be 90% to make money. But you laugh at 54, 55%. That is, you multiply that over 100 games, 500 games, 1,000 games over the course of a year, spread it out. It makes you money.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. People aren't willing to grind it out a lot of times, and they jump ship as soon as you have a bad week or two. And it's going to happen to the best of us. I don't care how good you are. Nobody out there hits 70, 75% all the time. Now, you'll get a lot of these phone salesmen that will call you and tell you that because that's what you want to hear. But shame on you if you believe that baloney, especially in this day and age where there's so many checks and balances on the internet right now. For example, me and Sean are both monitored by sportscapping.com. If you look across the internet on sites that we post at, those are all the same plays. Sometimes the results are a little bit different because one site has a half a point more than the other. One site has 1.5 points less than the other on a total. But for the most part, folks, shame on you.
It's not two sides. It's not, hey, I got the Giants, you got the Jets. It's not like that. It's just the numbers. It's a push, it's a loss, it's a win.
Yeah,
that's where you get.
And you know what, Sean? I don't know if you agree with this, but I'm sort of glad that we're not seeing as many of these touts out there per se, or guys that are just phone salesmen that are making their life on phone sales. I'm sure there's some out there, but when you look at sites like Wager Talk, Sports Memo, Picks and Parlays, what am I missing? Any of the big sites out there, there's nobody really on those sites that are just strictly a phone salesman.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know a guy who's in Long Island, and I'm not going to mention his name out of respect, because as much as I really disgusted by some of his practices, he is a generous and nice man. But having said that, I remember him calling me 10 years ago or so, even more. It probably back in around 2010. And he wanted just me to write up games for him and make picks, and he just wanted to go in the office and just sell and sell and sell. Well, the downside to that, the guy was a lunatic, so I was getting calls at 3:00 in the morning. You know who I'm referring to. Anyway,
he's a character.
Yeah, he's definitely a character. He's at Barstool Sports, by the way. And that's where he belongs because the people who visit that site seem to be more interested in clown activities than they are in picking games. Anyway, I'll leave that at that. So let's get to our games. We got two real good ones. Sean is going to be taking care of the St. Mary's and Gonzaga game. St. Mary's will be the home team in that contest. And North Carolina and Duke will be covered by myself. Both games are national telecast. Both are played on ESPN. And I go at 6:30 with the North Carolina Duke game. That's Eastern time. And Sean's game goes at 10:30 Eastern. Sean, before we came on the air, we couldn't find a line anywhere. So we went to Pempom, or you did find a line. If I'm not,
I saw 4.5.
4.5 at St. Mary's. So that's the disadvantage we have when we do these early. The good thing is a lot of you get to see it. But like I always like to say, folks, keep in mind, we're recording 24 hours in advance, sometimes more. In this instance, for example, it's it's only 4:30, 4:20 Eastern time here. So you could see how many hours we're doing this in advance. So keep in mind when you view this video, if you're not viewing it live, which you're not, or you're not viewing it 10 minutes after it goes up, these lines are all subject to change. And we always grade them on the line that we use on the show, which is the current time. And sometimes that works for us, and sometimes it works against us. Go ahead, Sean. Tell the folks what you think about this huge matchup in the West Coast Conference.
Yeah, I mean, so you got two nice ranked teams here, and Gonzaga, big name brand, no more a small school, and they're a dog, which is, you look at the series, and Gonzaga's won 8 of the last 9 in the series. Mary's got them last year in one of the games, but these games are usually not even close. They're usually double-digit wins by Gonzaga. They're head and shoulders better, and here they are catching points. Now, Timmy's a good player. Obviously, he doesn't have some NBA role players around him, like Suggs is gone or whoever. I mean, it's. I look at this. I want to take St. Mary's here.
Yeah.
Right. Defensively, tremendous. Right. They've won 11 straight, 7-3 against the number. In that spread, 14-8 on the season. And you look at the Gonzaga. Again, they got a couple losses here. 8-14 against the spread. 4-6 ATS last 10. They're not really doing much. You're going to give me 4.5 with this team. I'm going to take the 4.5. And as much as I want to say St. Mary's is better, like defensively, and this is maybe they take out years of frustration. Again, you lose 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 11 and 15 of 17, whatever. Gonzaga has owned this. No matter how good St. Mary's has been, Gonzaga has always taken the reins here. And I'm going to go with the dog here, believe it or not. I think Gonzaga is going to show up like they usually do, and they've played tough schedule. They played some good teams. I'm good. Mary's is defensive. It's not like they're going to run them out. It's be some kind of up and down. I think this is Gonzaga will play some defense. I'm getting 4.5, 5 points, whatever it be, between 4 and 5. I think it's worth a shot. I think the history here tells me that no matter who's on St. Mary's and how good they are or allegedly are, and Gonzaga is always a solid club. Coach is good. I don't know. Timmy's again not a best year, but I'm going to take the dog here.
Yeah. Okay. So Gonzaga plus the 4.5 at St. Mary's at Saturday night, 10:30 Eastern time on ESPN. I looked at this game and it jumped out at me because it was sort of a surprise for me. Not so much that St. Mary's was a favorite, but 4.5 or 5, whatever I was seeing them at. Especially in light of what you just said, Gonzaga not only dominating the head-to-head series, winning 9 of the last 10, but a lot of those wins were of the lopsided variety. So I looked at it from that respect. But then you look at the non-conference strength of schedule, and Gonzaga unequivocally plays a tougher non-conference schedule every year. Mark Few gets out there and he schedules anybody who wants to play him from a Power power conference team. So, St. Mary's does play some decent non-conference games, but not of the volume on an annual basis. And
we could say Michigan State's down. Okay. It's still Michigan State on neutral. At Texas, they lost there. Texas is a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Neutral Kentucky, neutral Purdue, neutral Xavier, neutral Baylor. I mean, Alabama on the neutral. They win by, a
lot of top 10 caliber teams, right, Sean?
Yeah. You lose on a neutral 64-63 to Baylor. Is that a bad loss for any program? I think any team would probably take that as a loss. That's fine. Purdue ran them out of the building, which is Purdue's done.
Number one team in the country,
But they aren't, that isn't the way St. Mary's is built.
No.
St. Mary's, so.
This is a contrast of styles. St. Mary's likes to play extremely slow. I wish I had the numbers. Here we are. And Gonzaga, they play at a more rapid pace. But St. Mary's is somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, in the 250s in terms of adjusted tempo, which pretty much tells you how fast the team likes to play. And Gonzaga's on the other end of the spectrum, where they're in the upper 30% of playing fast in the country. So a bit of a contrast in styles. One thing I will say is Gonzaga's not a great shooting team, okay, but they're a terrific offensive rebounding team. But St. Mary's, one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the country. And like you alluded to, Sean, the thing that scares you in that game is how well St. Mary's plays defense, but against who? Okay, so we'll see. They're going to be playing probably their toughest opponent to date.
By far.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that had a 3-game losing streak earlier in the year. They won 14 of 15 since, including 11 straight. But again, you look down the list of who they beat during that winning stretch, and not a lot of impressive teams jump off the page at you, right? So, all right, let me take a look at my game here, and we're running short on time as always when we do a show. North Carolina at Duke, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. Right now, according to DraftKings, Duke is a 3-point favorite, and there's a total of 145 in this game. This is a Duke team that's gone 11-0 at home this year, which surprised me a little bit because it's not your atypical dominant Duke team, but they've had struggles on the road, specifically true road games. And but you know what? In that 11-0 home record, their last two, they got away with murder because they won by 2 against Wake Forest in the game. They had a double-digit lead and almost blew at the end. And then Miami took them right down to the wire in a 2-point loss. Duke is not considered to be a great shooting team. They're number 252 in the country in 3-point shooting, number 156 in 2-point shooting. But they're number 2 nationally in offensive rebounding. However, North Carolina is number 1 in ACC play in defensive rebounding, which means they allow the least amount of offensive rebounds within conference play than anybody else in the ACC. North Carolina also not a great shooting team. But you know what? They're really, really good, Sean. I think this will be the difference in the game is their ability to get to the free throw line. And when they are there converting, 23.1% of Duke's or North Carolina's points scored this year have come at the free throw line. That's 9th best in the country, and that's number 1 in the ACC. North Carolina got caught looking ahead. We're talking about look ahead, Sean. Got caught looking ahead in their last game, upset by Pittsburgh at home as like an 8.5 point favorite, somewhere in that area. And they're still 10-3 in their last 13 and 3-0 straight up in their last 3 following the loss, winning by 15.3 points per game. North Carolina, for me, plus the 3 at Cameron Indoor Arena to pull the upset against Duke, if you want to call it an upset, because when these two teams play, throw the records out the window, but they're usually both really good, and this year is no exception.
Yeah, I had both Pitt and Wake in their previous games versus these two guys thinking big game on deck. It's just the way it is. Yeah, I'll lead to NC here. Normally, now, any other kind of spot, you'd be like, they beat Syracuse on the road. They had a loss at Pitt, and then who else got in Virginia a little bit? Got them on the road. But this is a different animal. This is Duke NC. I'll take some points with you. Again, and honestly, I think this game I don't even know how they've played of recently against each other. I was going to say, if you're taking NC, it'd probably just be a money line play, right? Because team's going to win. It won't come down to a last second shot. It'll be somebody
Was
wins
it
by
last year these teams met in the Final Four? If I'm not mistaken, or was it 2 years ago?
81-77 last year.
Yeah.
April 2nd.
Yeah, so you got a little bit of revenge going there for
Duke.
Yeah. But Coach K's last game, as a matter of fact.
But
So
before that, Carolina got them by 13. Duke got them by 20 in that regular season. I mean, think about that. 2 Final Four teams. They played each other in February. Duke by 20. They played in March 5th, which is, I guess, their last game of the regular season for them. And that was a 13-point win for North Carolina at home. And then you see, again, Duke by 18, Carolina by 4, Duke by 13, Duke by 2 in overtime. Go back a couple of years to get closer games. But recently, it's somebody's going to win. I don't think the spread comes into play. So whoever you like, it'll be a winner for you there. So it's not going to – I don't think the points are going to matter.
Yeah, I mean, it can. If they're going to give me 3 points, I'm going to take them, and I'm sure you would agree, but you're right. Absolutely. I mean, the chances of losing this game and still covering when you're getting 3 are low. It happens. We see 1 and 2 point games every night. But if you do the research, folks, again, those types of results are minute and compared to those who aren't decided by that close a margin. Anyway, Sean, tell the folks where you prefer they find you, a little bit about your podcast, and what you may have coming up this weekend.
Yeah, 7 days a week, midday money. Can't beat it. It's a free pick show. I come in, I run down my free picks for the day, and then it's open floor on the chat. It's like a old school talk show, I guess. Come in, I try to help you out, tell you what I got going on. There you have it. I'll have college hoops up, hockey on a break, NBA. We spatter in some NBA. Super Bowl next week. And I'll be doing on the midday money starting Monday. I'll probably do every day. I'll have like a little prop segment on the show, and you can find it on all the podcast channels, wherever you watch your favorite podcasts, on iTunes or Amazon or Spotify. You can find it. And it's little timestamps. I'll say, hey, recap today's picks.
Yeah.
And then they'll say like NFL props for a day. It'll be Eagles one day, Chiefs one day. Then we'll do some, game props. It'll be all over. You can find it on Winner Free Picks, Picks and Parlays, the channel. I'm on with the Ross there. Mr. Sean Higgs on Twitter if you want to give me a follow.
There you go. And a guy who's got a great college basketball record over his career. Last year, a phenomenal year. Volume handicapper that hits at a good to very good win percentage. And like he said, you don't have to hit 60% when you're a volume handicapper to make a lot of money. In the 55% range over the course of the year with a volume handicapper. And I'm not saying Sean doesn't do better on occasion. He does. I mean, look at his football, his NFL season,
It's you get hot. Sometimes you're better in one than the other, and you kind of vary to that sport that you're rolling in.
Yep. So you can find me at rbwins.com. It's rbwins.com. My picks are all guaranteed on a daily basis. That means your daily single game and multi-game packages. If you don't make a profit, you don't win. I'll match your purchase price and credit it to your account, and you could use that money any which way you like toward future purchases. And unlike picksandparleys.net, it is not a pay after you win site. I guarantee the pick if it loses, or picks if it loses, I credit your account for future purchases. So there you have it, rbwins.com. And by the way, folks, all sports on a 19-12 run right now, even though I lost last night, 61% over my last 31 plays. As a matter of fact, you go back to August 10th of last year, 130 and 104 with my last 234 picks in all sports. That's good for 56%. My dime players over the course of that time, up $14,530 or approximately thereof. And my college basketball totals, even though I lost last night with a college basketball total, still 21 and 8, the last 39 in all sports. When it comes to totals, 48 and 32 with my last 80, with all totals in all sports. So there you have it, rbwins.com. Sean Higgs, find him at picksandparleys.net. Don't forget Sean's podcast. He does Monday through Sunday live at noon Eastern. You can go right to the picksandparleys.net homepage, or you can go to Picks and Parlays YouTube channel. If you can't catch it live, all the archives are right there for you to see.
I'll be doing one tonight. It'll be a late show because we got so much basketball tomorrow. It'll be late night money tonight at around 10 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. Do you have any NBA tonight?
I did kind of like a little NBA tonight, believe it or not. And it's a rarity. I jump into NBA, but I do like some NBA. I'll tell you. So I have I do like Boston. I know they're off a huge win and Suns are off a bad loss, but Boston's playing well. I know it's a fave. I do like the Wizards. They've been hot. The Rockets, a little dog. No one's going to like the Rockets, but I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm taking 2 faves in the Rockets. And the Jazz at home. The Jazz at home win, and the Hawks off a big win. Again, Utah's a tough place to play, no matter what kind of team Utah trots out. So I do sort of like a little NBA, believe it or not, today.
Yeah, I mean, the Boston Celtics over tonight, and their team total was 115. I did bet that game personally. It's not up on a lot of the sites because they don't offer us that option. But, Boston scored 116 or more in 21 of 26 home games this year. In Phoenix, it's not like they've been playing great defense of late. As a matter of fact, they're coming off that 132 to 100 home loss to Atlanta a couple nights ago. So there you have it, folks. There's a play that I'm betting on personally, an extra, what do you call it? An extra, whatever you want to term it as, a favor or whatever the case may be. It's only a favor if I win, though, by the way. So
we'll hear about it when they don't come in. They'll be in the comment section. That game lost.
You know what? I'm very thankful for you guys who have been complimenting us on the.
I love the comments. I pop in and look at the comments.
The 3-man show with me, Sean, and Jesse, and we'll be continuing that, folks. It seems to be quite growing in popularity, I should say, and quite successful. So we'll continue on that path, even though we went 0 for 3 yesterday. Hey, it happens. All right. Until the next time, for Sean Higgs, who loves the NBA of picksandparlays.net, and Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com, we like to wish each and every one of you a fantastic weekend. Good luck. And God bless, folks.